Tracy. Oh, thank you, Jen. So we are recording this program, so it will be posted hopefully on our LibGuide. I expect that's where we will put it, or we can share it at least. Tracy works at NIAC, and she has graciously offered to do an introduction to Canva webinar for everybody because it's a really user-friendly web-based system that you can use to create fun and graphic flyers to share information. She'll get all into that. And so we're really excited to have her here. I'm just going to reiterate for those of you who may have joined after I said it. She will be taking questions at the end. In the meantime, if you'd like to put them in the chat, I will keep an eye on that. And I will interrupt her if we need any clarification about something she's talking about at the moment. However, other than that, we'll just save questions for the end so that we don't interrupt Tracy's presentation flow. If anyone has any other questions for me, please just don't hesitate to reach out. And Tracy, I'm going to let you take it away.
All right. Thank you, Megan. And thanks everyone for coming. I see some familiar faces. Hi, Anita. I'm just going to share my screen. And I'm also going to probably minimize the Zoom just because otherwise it won't show up properly. All right, so welcome to Introduction to Canva. I've made this presentation in Canva because I find it amazing for just about anything. We're going to talk about newsletters, how to make and edit videos, charts, merge and editing files, bookmarks, content planners, and a bunch of other things. Once again, I'm Tracy Dunstan. I work at the NIAC Library as the head of adult and digital services. I've previously worked at the Passaic Public Library and the Clifton Public Library, and I've been at NIAC for about 6 years. So the first thing I want to talk about is we work, like the best thing on Canva that I've used, before I should start, I'm going to go through all the things I've been able to do in Canva, and then I'm going to show you, and then I'm going to stop, and then I'm going to show you how to do specific things in Canva, and then we'll just take questions at the end. So the first thing I want to show you is that we work with Canva as a team on the newsletter. So this is a picture of our most recent newsletter, and I'm just going to click to show you what it looks like in Canva. So one of the best things is that I love that you can work on it as a team. So you can go and you can share your files with each of your teammates, and then you can work on it together in real time. So for example, me and Christine Kump, one of the people who work in programs, we tend to work together a lot. Like we'll be on the phone and we'll just be in Canva editing together and going back and forth. Also, another cool thing about Canva to make newsletters together is that if you go to like the children's programs pages, the children's department does their pages on their own. And for this specific newsletter, they wanted to copy their summer reading page from last year, but we'd already started on this. So I was able to do a separate Canva document with just their pages from last year. They edited it, and then they sent it to me. So I downloaded it as PDF. And Canva has a new tool where you can edit PDFs. So I merged the two PDFs and then made it one new file. And then we were able to finish editing the newsletter together with all the right pages. And at the end, I'll show you how to edit a PDF. Another good thing about Canva, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not great at Excel. I can do Excel for some things, but doing charts, I just don't know how to do in Excel. So one great thing about Canva is that you can use it to make charts. So Alex from RCLS, thank you. He gave me access to get adult circulation stats. So I was doing a presentation for our board, and I wanted to show how our circulation stats had improved since the pandemic began. So if you go into Canva, and please let me know if I'm talking too fast. I'm a very true New Yorker and I talk very fast. You can, if you click on the image, it'll let you put in the data. It does say that you can upload a Google Sheet or Excel and then make a chart, but I will be honest and say that I've tried it and it doesn't quite work right. So I tend to just do it manually, but you can also change it to be a row chart, or you can do a line chart. And then you can change the colors to match. Because, for example, for this specific thing, I found that the colors that they gave me were a little too close. So it's hard to tell the differences. So I was able to change the colors as well. And you'll find that over here in under charts. So it's on the side, on the left-hand side. I was also able to make bookmarks, bingo cards, and brochures. So it's a little convoluted to make bookmarks, but I found it a little bit easier than something like LibraryWare or Word. Because so what I will do is I will go to Canva and I'll go to their homepage and I'll type in bookmark, and then I'll find a template that I like, and I'll make the bookmark, download it as a JPEG, upload it, and then I'll put it in as 3 different copies of the same bookmark. So if you click on an image, you can duplicate it, and then it'll just, also what's nice is that when you duplicate it, it'll put it in the space that is best to make it even. So if you duplicate the front, duplicate the back, and then you can just print it on the short edge from your printer and then just cut it really easily. So I find it a very fast, easy way to make bookmarks. I also made bingo cards. The librarian at the Palisades Library was kind enough to let me use her bingo card that she had designed for summer reading, but I didn't want to have to literally recreate the entire bingo card again to make it fit Nyack Library. So like I mentioned earlier, you can take PDFs, import them into Canva, and then edit them. So what I had done is that I took her PDF of her bingo card, uploaded it into Canva, and then I was able to edit it and make it very specific to Nyack. So I could add her logo, I could change, because she had done it for the previous summer. So I added the current summer reading year, and I just added things that were, very Nyack specific. And I was able to edit her second page as well. A colleague of mine also made a really nice brochure through Canva. We wanted to display our artwork in the library. So she decided to come up with this brochure, and she took all the artwork that we had around the library, took pictures of it. So, Carnegie, different things. And she made this brochure that we were able to give out to patrons to follow along in the library and see the different art we had. She was also able to make little cards telling people underneath the picture what they are in the library through Canva. We have a pro account, so we were able to order some, because I didn't want to make too many prints, and we just want to, when I ordered it, it was a little bit less expensive than this. It was about $20, but we were able to order like about 50 brochures on a really nice quality paper that came in about a week. So that's another option you can use Canva for, is to print things. I don't recommend it for doing something big like a newsletter, because it's super expensive, but for something really small that you just want to have a nice paper, it's a good option. In Aspen, you can make placards. So I use Canva to do that as well. So for example, if you go into the catalog and type in tutor, I took an image from tutor.com, I resized it, which I will also show you later on how to do in Canva, and I added in our information here. And then I downloaded it as a JPEG, and I was able to put it in Aspen as something that comes up whenever you search for tutor. So that kind of advertises tutor.com to our patrons. I made a map, which is one of like the really, really fun things I was able to make with Canva that it was really cool to make. I was working with the local hospital, and they wanted to do a health fair at the library, and they wanted to have different locations marked for where they could do they were going to have tables at different parts of the library for people to come and stop by. So I was able to find a map of our library. I imported it into Canva, there's a thing called the background remover, so it takes out all the extra stuff in images. I did that, and then I was able to add arrows and circles and descriptions of where things are. It's not a perfect map, because I wasn't able to, like, for example, we had changed some of the bookcases and stuff I wasn't able to edit that, but it was still gave patrons a nice idea of where they could expect to find different things in the library for this health fair. And it was cool because the hospital was very like, oh, this is not what we expected when we said make a map. So it was kind of cool to be able to do that. I also really like to make videos in Canva. So in Canopy, they had this video as one of their multimedia tools for librarians. So I downloaded that and I was able to merge it into Canva and make it more specific to the library. So I'm just gonna play this just so you can get a sense of what it looks like, it sounds like. So yeah, if you look, I added our logo, I added this text, I added this little moving graphic. The only thing that I got from Canva was the video itself, and then I even added the background. And you can share this on social media, you can share this, you can email it to people, you can do many different things with video. And I'll go into more exactly how to create a video and how to add music and whatnot as we go on. So now that I've shown you what you can do, let's try to learn how to do specific things. Megan, are there any questions that are pressing for right now before I go on?
Nope, not yet.
Okay, thank you. All right, so let's learn how to upload and edit an image. I'm going to go back to that Canva, the Canopy video. And this is what the homepage of Canva looks like. You can search for docs, you can do videos, you can search for whatever you want, and they'll give you a template of what you can do. I'm going to make it a white background because sometimes it can be it can mess up the editing sometimes. Okay, so you go to photos. And I like cats, so that's what I had tested it out last night. So you can just search for whatever you want. So say, can someone give me something that they want me to look up?
How about kayaks?
So let's get rid of the cat for a second. So it'll come up with different images that are free to use and are okay, okay to use in terms of like cost and whatnot. And sorry about my phone ringing. You can, like I said, the background remover, and I'll take out some extra parts of the image. Sometimes it takes a little bit for it to actually work, but say if you just wanted just the kayak in your document, you could just do that. You can also, something I like to do with photos is that I'll do shadows to make it look a little bit more dynamic. You can also change the color. You can make it, say, one thing we use, for example, when we were doing our tech helps, you can take, say you want to take your image of your library, your logo rather, and put it in make it look like it's part of a laptop image. You can do that, which is kind of fun, or you can make it look like a phone. There's a bunch of different things you can do. They can do face retouch, auto refocus, and whatnot. You can also use apps as well to do other different things. So I'm gonna go back to that. Let's go back to the cat. So I can use on this side panel here, you click on apps. And you can do, like I said, the charts, you can add audio, you can do a background, you can do logos. You can also translate, which I haven't tried, but that's a cool feature. Another fun thing is you can do elements. So say I wanted to do like a sticker. You search for whatever you want, and then you can add it to the document. And you can move it around wherever you want. You can, if you're doing a social media post, you can do moving images. And then second thing I'm going to show you is how to use audio and video. So if I go back to that, if I go to audio.
Tracy, we do have a question here, and it perhaps could have waited, but I'm going to ask it now anyway. Can you ask a QR, or excuse me, not ask, generate a QR code in apps?
Yes. Yeah, that's if you go to apps, and then I usually have to search for it because it doesn't save, but you click on QR, and then I like to use this one. So say if you were doing you just hit generate QR code, and then it'll show up and you can resize it the way you want it to. So we'll do this a lot in our newsletter. For example, we are doing an open mic night. So we wanted to have one link for presenters and one link for people to register. So we made two QR codes in the newsletter that people could just scan and join. Going back to the video, you can also add audio. One nice thing that they've changed with Canva, before you could only do one song at a time, but now it looks like you can add more than one song. So say if I wanted to do this upbeat, or say if I wanted something, let's say sad songs, it has, you just search what you want, and then it'll give you examples of things you could use. And then you could sample it and say it's something you do want to use. You click on it, and then it adds it to the bottom of the slide that you're on. And you can also do a thing where you can beat sync, which this will make it, say this was a moving image, you could make it sync up to the movement on the screen, which is a nice effect. And you can also say if you didn't want it to be as long as 4 seconds and 4 seconds, you could adjust it. And also, if I wanted to add another song, say if I wanted a song to the canopy image, you could just click on it, and then it'll let you have this song first and then the second song. Okay. There's also design. So if you go back to Canva's homepage, you can search for, say if I wanted to do something for summer reading, you just search and then enter. And it'll give you suggestions and things you could do. Say if you already did something about summer reading, you can just go up to the top and then hit projects. And it'll show you everything you've done that had to do with summer reading. So you could go back to something that you want to do. And then you can say, if I wanted to do this flyer, but that was last year, and I want to make a new flyer for this year with different colors, but I want to keep the old flyer, you would just hover on these 3 dots, click on it, and then hit copy. Or say you wanted to share it with a coworker, you could just hit share. If you wanted to download it, you could download it as a JPEG, a PDF. You can also download it as a video. You can also move it to a folder, which is something that we use a lot to make sure that we all have access to all the files that we've done, all the flyers that we've done. So say I wanted a template, and I wanted it to be Facebook. So I tend to use a lot of templates for Facebook. You would just click on customize this template. And let's say I wanted to change the colors. So you'd hover over the area that you wanted to change, and then you could just do, I want it to be blue. And then usually what comes up on the bottom, it'll say like, change all the yellow colors to blue. You hit accept, and then it would change all the colors. But it looks like this design doesn't have too many color differences. Let's try maybe this. Yeah, see. And you could also, if you ever want to, if you don't like that design anymore, you could go back to the left-hand side, click design, and then you can search again for, say if I wanted a book reading, you can look up, you can change it to a different design. And you can also, they have the template style. So say you want to change the design or the style, you can click on that and it'll change the different design.
Hey, Tracy.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got another question in the chat about how much of this you can do without a subscription to Canva. And I was thinking that maybe as you keep going, you could mention if you're using anything that is you're getting because it's pro versus what would be free.
Sure. So unfortunately, a lot of what I'm doing is pro, because you can do some things with the free version of Canva. Like you can search for the templates, you can edit. They have the template that they have for the free version are really good too. So that's basically the same. But if you want to add any of the elements, any of the audio, some images you can't add in the free version. But we used to use the free version at my old library for a while, and it's doable. You just can't resize images and stuff. You have to play around with it more if it's the free version, but it's still equally as good. So elements, like I was showing before, is another good tool that I like. Is you can add, say if you wanted a shape to make this a little bit, the words pop a little bit more, you could do that. You can add lines. All this is free too. One tool to see where you can check and see if something is part of the pro version is it'll have a little crown and it'll say pro. But for example, like this line doesn't have that, so you can use that for free. Or like this, that also doesn't have the crown, so you can use that. And under elements, there's graphics, photos, videos, shapes, audio, frames, and charts. Frames is another good one that's nice to use because then you can play around with the image that goes into it. Text. Text is another fun thing I like to use. So one thing that, say for example, this was a really busy background. Like if I had the world books right here, you can't really see it, right? So if you click on effects, you can go to background, and then it'll make it automatically a color that I think works with the theme of the image that will make it so that you can see the word. You can also make it neon. Let me just move it up so you could see it better. You can make it glitch. You can do outline. You can even make it look like a half circle. I would probably say that the circle and the background is probably what I use the most in terms of editing text, but there's a lot of other really cool things that you can do too to make it look a little bit more dynamic. Okay, so the content planner is something I use to schedule our social media posts. One bad thing with the content planner is that you can't share content planners. It's also something that's, if you see there's a crown, it's part of the pro account. So that was one thing that we kind of had trouble with, where like, say I had a colleague who was doing social media for Instagram and I do Facebook, you can't see what the other person is going to post through this, unfortunately, but it is a nice thing, way to do posts that you say, for example, like if you go back to July, obviously we were closed for 4th of July, so I wasn't in the library, but I wanted to post something for the holiday. So you can schedule that post to post at a time that you think will work best. And I will say one also downside is that you have to log into your account to get it to post. So for example, the Nyack Library's Facebook account is linked to my Facebook. So I have to be logged into Canva on my Facebook to get it to post, which can kind of be annoying, but it is still a very useful tool, because what's nice is that during the month, if you click on a certain month, it'll tell you different holidays that you might want to do posts for. So for example, International Cat Day, you could click on the image, the link that tells you what the holiday is, and it'll give you suggestions and things you can post. So now we're going to try and edit a PDF. So you would go to the homepage again, click on Create Design, and then you would click on Import File. So let's edit Library Trivia Night. So you click on the PDF that you want to edit. And sometimes it takes a little bit to download. So see, the file that I had is in there. And even though it was a PDF, I'm able to change the color. I can change the text. So say if I wanted this, sometimes it'll only do some of it. So for example, this is keeping most of the background the same. But I've uploaded different PDFs that let me do basically anything. So it can be a little hit or miss with the PDF upload. Sometimes I will have to go to Adobe and do it through that instead. But sometimes it's a nice, easy way to just, so now you can, change the text that someone else had without having to literally recreate the document. Another thing you can do is you can resize. This is also something that's only with the Pro. So for example, you can see that it has the crown, but we have at the library a lot of things that are 11 by 17. So it's nice being able to just, change it to that size. And then you can either resize it just up front, and then that would erase the original image, or you can copy and resize, which will save the original document and then make a new document that has the size that you want. So say if I just want to resize that. So it'll change the size, and then that way when you print it, it'll be the right size that you want. Sometimes you will have to edit it a little bit to make it fit, because it might make it a little short, but again, it's just a nice way to resize really easily. Or say if I wanted to do a Facebook post instead, it'll resize for each of the different social medias. Then so as you see, it's a little bit too small for the Facebook size, so I'd have to play around with it and move it a little bit. Folders is another thing that we use a lot at the library. That I believe is you don't have to have a pro account to have. But for example, my colleague, she does our flyers, so she made a folder of all the fall 2022 flyers. So I could just click on it, and then I guess she didn't have anything in there. So we have a Carnegie concert. So I just put all the flyers in there, and she was able to just access them whenever she wanted to and print them out and resize them, and she could do whatever. She could even copy them and make, sometimes we'll like say, for example, one person will be out and you need to re-edit a flyer that they did. You could just go on Canva, copy it, change it, print it again without having to bother the person. Like everything else these days, Canva's getting into the AI thing. I haven't specifically used the AI, but that is a new option that they have. One thing I tried out was that you can have like a talking head. So you can have, they don't have too many options, but you can find, say you wanted to do like a young person who looks like you, or an older person looks like you. You can search for that, and then you can make them talk and say the words that you want for your presentation. So I tried that just to test it out for another presentation I was doing. It's a little creepy, a little weird, but it's something you can do. You can also do this magic write that will write a document for you for what it's worth. So say if I wanted to do You can search for different things that it can do for you. It was working before. I was able to type in like that I wanted it to be a sad story, and it did it for me, but it doesn't seem to be working right now. Let me try it one more time. So you see it made a story. Take that for what it's worth, but that's just one option you can use for Canva. That's it's a new thing they're trying. I believe this is also something that would be part of the pro account, not necessarily the free account. Okay, that's it. Any questions?
Oh, okay. My video didn't want to go off. So there's not additional questions, but there's a couple of comments in here in the chat about Canva Pro as a nonprofit. You can get Canva Pro for free. And then Karen Lipton said that. And then Amelia added, there's also a nonprofit version that has some of the pro features. I'm actually wondering if they're talking about the same thing or if the nonprofit version is different from when you get Canva. I'm not exactly sure. Do you know anything about that?
I tried to apply for the Canva nonprofit edition. I never heard back. So I'm curious to hear how other people were able to get it, because we tried a couple times and we never heard anything back from them. But it is something, yeah, you could definitely apply for through Canva.
Interesting. So if you have any questions, you can feel free to unmute yourselves. If you can't unmute yourself for some reason, you could put it in the chat. Anne Marie is in the chat. She's saying she also applied and never heard back. Okay. So
at least it's not me, just me.
Yeah.
Is there anything anybody wants me to show you how to do again, or you want me to go through the function that you want me to go over that I missed?
So Karen is saying that it took a while, but she did hear back and does have Canva Pro for free.
Ooh, okay. I'll try again.
So could still be worth trying. So we talked earlier about resizing. Oh, actually, here's somebody. Anne Marie has asked about newsletters. So maybe you could just go over that again.
Sure. So I don't believe we use the template that they have for newsletters. You can search and do newsletters. Once it loads. And so they'll give you examples of what you could do. But what we did is that we did the PDF upload where we took our old newsletter that we made on, I believe we used to use Adobe, uploaded the PDF and then edited it. So if you go back to so this is the one that we're working on right now.
So Tracy, each month with your newsletter, or however often frequently you do it, do you basically just start with last month's and then do some updates, or do you start from scratch each month?
No, I will copy the previous year newsletter, and then I will just change the color. I will usually I'll leave everything in place because it's a nice reminder of where things were, and also the font sizes and how we placed everything. And then I'll just change, like, for example, say if I didn't want this to be green. It could be a little finicky sometimes when you're grouping things together. Like, for example, it's not letting me change the color, but in theory, you would click on the, this might be grouped. That's one nice thing too, is that, so to make it so that it's easier to, because we'll be changing around the different areas things will be, if you drag and highlight an area that you want, you can group it. And then that way you don't have to keep moving each and every one of the different levels. For example, like if I did ungroup this, I would have to move the this Carnegie series, and I'd have to move this, and then so it's just an easier way to move things around if you're trying to do different things at once. But it's and you can also do a background. So since it was fall, I picked this fall-ish kind of background, but you can search for a photo. You could do, say if it was spring, you could say if you wanted like this image, but obviously it's a little too dark because you can't see anything else in the text. If you go up here to transparency, you can make it light enough that you can still see the text in the background. You can also add, like the children's room did, they didn't want to have a background per se, but they just wanted to have like a border. So you can also do borders too as well. Any other questions about newsletters?
Not specifically newsletters here, Tracy, but as I was watching you do that, and by the way, Anne-Marie is saying thank you for that. I'm wondering, how much experience have you had playing with Library Aware or Publisher or some of the alternatives? How do you find Canva compares to that?
Publisher is, I've used that a couple times. I like Publisher. It's pretty similar. I know RCLS uses Library Aware a lot, but I find it kind of hard to use. I like this way better because it's a little bit more intuitive and easier to manipulate. Adobe is also pretty good too. It's similar, and especially for the PDF editing. Sometimes you may have to use Adobe more so than this to edit a PDF because sometimes it won't do it exactly the way you want. It won't upload it exactly the way you want it. For example, with this newsletter, when I merged the children's room with our stuff, it changed all the fonts. So I had to go in and put all the fonts back to the way I want it. So sometimes that can be annoying with Canva.
Does anyone have any other questions?
Actually, I do, because I use Library Aware a lot. Is there a way in Canva to set up distribution lists so that your material can be emailed out? So it's basically created, and when you want to distribute it, you have to do that through some other means. Is that correct?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay.
The one thing you can do through Canva is the social media aspect. If you go, let me just move this a little bit, to share, you can download it, share, and social print it. That's pretty much your only options, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. And someone's asking about QR codes. This is where we'll use it. This does a link. This links straight to our calendar on our website. And then I was talking about doing for that open mic night. So I was able to link directly to the audience registration and the performer registration as well. And you can also play around with a lot of fun graphics that you can add to as well. And there's good fonts and whatnot. And also they've gotten a lot better with what comes up when you search for a photo. So we were just talking about Harry Potter. So I'll show Harry Potter. Before it used to be kind of like generic wizard that would come up. But now it's a little bit more close to what you're probably looking for. And also it's not copyrighted, so you wouldn't be in trouble for printing anything with this, which is nice.
I was just going to comment. So clearly these are not licensed images, which means you're probably allowed to use them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's actually really helpful.
Oh, and another cool thing is, like, for example, let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. So we're gonna give out tote bags for Banned Books Week. So I was able to search for tote bags created the images that I was going to use for the tote bags, download the JPEG, and then add it into the newsletter so it kind of looks a little bit more dynamic. So I took out the background so it kind of looks like a bag, which I thought was kind of a cool little thing that you can do. You can also do arrows. Like I was saying,
is that the artwork that will be on your bags?
Yes, and stickers.
Very cool.
Thanks.
So Tracy, what do you use to send out your newsletter? So if you don't use Canva, because that's not how it works, do you download it and then do you use Constant Contact or some other kind of service?
Yeah, we do Constant Contact for our e-newsletter, and then I'll download this and I'll send it to the publisher directly through Canva, which is another nice thing with the resizing option we were talking about. Because, for example, the first time I did this, I didn't have the right size. So he told me the right size and I was able to download it to resize it really quickly to do it the way the publisher wanted me to do it.
And then what about, we were talking earlier about social media, and can you make one post or one flyer or something and resize it for posting in different formats, different places? How tricky is it if you want to put it on Instagram versus Facebook versus, a library flyer in print?
Oh, thank you for reminding me. Yeah, I want to mention Instagram. It's really hard to do Instagram. I don't even bother with it because you have to log into your account, but then the way it works through Canva, it doesn't recognize my account. So I just always have to do Canva separately, Instagram separately, which ends up being a problem because I'll forget sometimes to do Instagram because it's not as seamless. But for Facebook and Twitter, it's really easy. You just hit resize, you search for what you want. So Facebook ad, or you could do Twitter. And it'll do different versions of whatever you want for Twitter, or X, I guess it's called now. And when you go to the share option, it'll have share on social. So I'm already linked on Facebook and Twitter. So it'll send that direct. I can just click on that and it'll do it directly. And then in the content planner, it'll show you that both are going to be published. But Instagram, if you click on it, it doesn't quite work the way you want it to.
And when you do that, does it go directly to those services? So it's actually putting the post out there for you. You don't have to then go to Facebook and hit post.
Yeah. Sometimes you'll have to update it a little bit. It might forget that it's synced, but usually it just goes right away. And if it doesn't post, it'll let you know. Canva will email you and say, this didn't post properly. Do you want to resend it? And like I was saying before, you can easily share it with teammates, so which is nice. And you can either have them edit it, or they could just view. Say if you want to show it to somebody but don't want to actually change anything, they can just view it, or they can just comment on it.
Okay. So I do have a post here from comment from Debbie. She's saying she uses the Instagram and doesn't have any problems. She has no issue.
Okay, good to know.
So maybe it's your account.
Yeah, maybe.
But that means it's worth a try for others. See what happens.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks.
All right. And I didn't highlight it, but Jen Park in the comments also put a little heart eyes emoji that she loves that bag. And I echo that. Those are great.
Oh, thank you. I'm trying to think of anything else.
Yeah, are there any other questions? Anybody else?
Yeah, basically with Canva, I find the best way is just to play around with it. So just test it out and just see what happens. And if you go up to the top, you can undo it really easily. So you're never going to ruin anything completely, which is nice.
Great. All right. Well, I think I'm going to wrap this up unless anybody else wants to jump in and interrupt me here. But thank you so much, Tracy, for sharing your time and expertise with us. We really appreciate it. And Jen, if you're there and you want to jump in and remind me if there are things that I'm supposed to be promoting or passing on. We did record this, and so we will make that recording available, and we will be sending out a follow-up email. It'll have a survey. If you could just take